I first encountered the Fortune Society in 1972 at a leadership training program in Denver. Fortune was there to talk to us about incarceration and toured us through a maximum security prison to show us the conditions. It was eye-opening, and it stayed with me. In the years since, our firm has had the honor of working with the Fortune Society on several projects that bring together affordable housing and the continuum of service. What they do inspires us to do our best work. Joanne and Stanley are amazing individuals who have helped many people rebuild their lives and become contributing members of society. They do this with compassion, resolve, patience. If you haven't seen their work up close, this video will help you understand.
I got a whole lot of that. I was incarcerated a little over 31 years. I was doing 25 to life. I started preparing for release long before I was released. I was living in the academy when they started building the Castle Gardens. It's 114 units, half of them for formerly incarcerated, and the other half is affordable living. And I've been here ever since.
I was in a homeless shelter with my daughter. I was there for 2 years before I came here to the Fortune Society. Being homeless is really stressful, especially when you have children that are young in school age. I had a case manager at the shelter, and she had informed me of this program. So I applied, and here I am.
I remember thinking, geez, these are a lot of apartments. It felt good because it felt like a safe space, and it was really pretty here. It still is.
When I came out the shelter and moved here, I was really sick. I had been diagnosed with cancer. As soon as they found out my situation, they were helping me from the very beginning, gave me permission for my family to stay here and help us, provided us with the extra bed for my family to stay here and everything. They have helped my daughter and I so much throughout the 11 years. I don't think she would have had all the opportunities that she's had if it wasn't for being here in this program.
At the Fortune Society, I answer letters from prisoners all over the country. They ask for reentry housing. I said, here is where you're going to be released to, and here are the places that service you. People appreciate the things that I do. So when I went over to Castle Gardens, it's the same thing. People having problems and stuff like that, I would assist them.
If I go downstairs to the Fortune Society and I have a problem, and they themselves cannot help me with it, they will find the help that I need.
This building had like a lot of opportunities to meet other people. We had bingo night, or when certain holidays would come around, they would have like a party, and you would just meet the other people and the kids in the building, so it was really nice.
On Halloween, they turned the academy into a haunted house. They give out fresh vegetables every Wednesday. They would give us tickets for Broadway plays, which was good, because a lot of us that didn't even come into the purview about thinking Broadway play. You gotta be kidding.
Don't ask me how I got into gardening, being afraid of bugs. When I start plucking my vegetables and my herbs, it's so peaceful. Sometimes I cannot even believe that I'm in Manhattan.
I'm gonna start college. I'm gonna be a freshman at SUNY Delhi, and I'm going to be majoring in culinary arts management, and I'm very excited. Home is a place you could go to feel relaxed, or a person you could go to feel relaxed. Home is here and with my mom.
When you talk about home, home just don't get up and move. Home is there, and Castle Gardens is there. Having a safe place to live is the difference between life and death.
If it wasn't for the Fortune Society, I honestly don't know where my daughter and I would be. And to this day, when we walk in, it's like, home, sweet home.
I think that video says it all. I'll limit my remarks, but I did want to take this opportunity to thank Joanne and Stanley and Sherry and the team at Fortune, because meeting you really inspired me, but also challenged me to think about how to house formerly incarcerated. It changed how I do business, and I feel a calling to join you in this work, so I appreciate that. It is hard to describe what is so special about Fortune. You truly have to see it and feel it. There's always an open invitation to the castle. You can just ask Stanley and Joanne. But I'll try. I think the magic of Fortune is that they see and uplift people, and they hold their experience close to their hearts. Giving the dignity of safe, supportive housing to those who have been systematically denied it and so often forgot about in society is profound, and it's sacred work. Thank you so much. We are so proud to give the Impact Award for Housing to Joanne Page and Stanley Richards.
Wow. Thank you, Sam, Samantha. Thank you, Mark, for that lovely introduction. It is so heartfelt to be in this room with all of you, seeing the power of our collective work to lift up New Yorkers and lift up people who need a safe and stable housing. And I want to extend a deep appreciation to Howard and the Citizens Housing and Planning Council for this award. Safe and affordable housing is a necessity that every person needs to live a life of stability and contribution. At the Fortune Society, we serve over 11,000 people each year. At the time of intake, over 25% identify as unstably housed, and we recognize housing as an instability and as one of the core barriers to post-release community reentry success. In 2021, according to reporting by the Gotham Gazette, 2 out of 5, or 40% of the people released from state prison returning to New York City were released to a shelter or a placement for homeless adults. That is the work that Fortune Society and all of you in this room do every single day, and we thank you for that. Providing housing stability is an essential strategy to break the cycle of incarceration and strengthen communities and families and help some of our most vulnerable yet resilient New Yorkers. The housing that Fortune provides and the recognition of our contributions would not be possible if not for the vision, tenacity, and leadership of my predecessor, Joanne Page. I had the privilege of working side by side with Joanne for close to 30 years when I returned from prison. So thank you, Joanne. But Joanne and I both recognize that we didn't do it alone. It literally takes a village to create housing and provide the daily support for the more than 800 people we house each day. That village is our staff, our volunteers, and our partners, many of who are in this room right now. Without their contributions, we would not be standing here accepting this award. So on behalf of the Fortune Society, on behalf of the 11,000 people we serve, the 800 people we house on any given night, I want to say thank you to all of you. For you walk not by seeing what people have done or where people are experiencing trauma in their life. You walk and you live and you work to build up the beauty in people. And for that, we thank you. And I want to close with a poem that really touched my heart that Joanne had shared with me some time ago. And it's a poem by Edwin Markham. And I'm going to modify it a little bit. But I want you to really think about this poem because this, for me, centers how you do your work. Society drew a circle that shut me out, a rebel, a thing to flout. But love and this community had the wit to win. We drew a circle big enough and let people in. Thank you.
So I've had the privilege of working with Stanley for 30 years and the privilege of being the CEO of Fortune until I handed that sacred trust over to Stanley at the end of December. The Talmud says that to save a life is akin to saving a universe. I consider Fortune sacred ground because it saves lives through advocacy in a criminal justice system that specializes in punishment, through services, many of which are delivered by people who are formerly incarcerated themselves, and through community, but especially through housing. Because I've been there for 34 years. We started housing roughly 20 years ago. I'm going to continue to be a resource to Fortune, to the whole body of work that I've devoted my life to. And I will not be a stranger to the Fortune community. But I want to talk about how we took on housing and created the castle, because we were known for our services, we were known for our advocacy, but we didn't know our ass from our elbow about housing. Okay? And the need was so urgent, especially for people who were most stigmatized coming out of the criminal justice system, especially people who were homeless, had drug histories, had a history of violent felonies. And we saw the people who were most motivated go under because they were not able to be housed. So what I did was I bought a dime store magnet that said, sometimes you need to take the leap and build your wings on the way down. And that was my motto, because we didn't know what we were doing. We'd never owned property. We'd never housed people. We took everything we could learn from people and developed our own model. And I'm grateful to say that that model, the Castle Gardens, our senior housing in collaboration with Bronx Pro, is a model for the country and has been replicated in upstate New York at the request of the New York State Criminal Justice Agency. We have over 200 scattered site apartments also in the mix. And as Stan said, we're housing 800 people on any night. But supportive housing not only changes lives, but it's the foundation for changing multi-generations of lives and families and communities hurt by poverty, by incarceration, by racism, by violence, by substance abuse, and by despair. Housing is not all that needs to be done, but it's an integral part. So I want to thank people, because this has been the work of many hands. Stanley is leading the next phase, but I want to thank those who helped us get so far. The castle was a dream, and we were in need of so much guidance and help and trust, because it was our first time out. And I wanted to give a special thanks to HHAP, to Enterprise, and to HFA, because they funded us for the first time. Castle Gardens, our mixed, affordable, and supportive permanent housing and service center. Jonathan Rose and Paul Freitag, Curtis and Ginsberg, Karen Sherman, Deutsche Bank and Sam Marks, CSH, HPD, David Walsh, who was then at HFA Capital One, John Zeiler and John Ganeshan at Hudson Housing, Nick Latier, and Fortune's Sherry Goldstein, who did the world's fastest lease up because she was committed to having the school children start their school year in our housing. Bronx Pro for our first joint venture, Samantha, Magistro, Justin Stein for our first joint venture and our first fully senior housing. And we have 3 projects in progress that include many recidivists from our past ventures and Amy Lariviere, Ted Houghton, Leviticus Fund, Weinberg Foundation, Trinity Church Wall Street, DHS, Nuveen, Raymond James, HHC, and from Fortune, Ben Metch and Stanley as leader of the team. We're going to continue to house people. We're going to continue to fight discrimination against people with records. And we are going to continue to be a vibrant part of this community because you all do life-saving work. Thank you.